and Emma is the mother of 3.
Yeah.
And we met here in Bulgaria, Bansko. And Emma and I, we had a lot of conversations, including giving birth. Because giving birth is obviously a big adventure for every woman.
Yeah.
But not every woman would say it's like a joyful experience. And then there are other moms, like Emma, who would claim maybe something different. So, Emma, would you say your labor was a positive, joyful experience or a negative and painful experience?
My second birth, that was a joyful, positive experience, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the good one.
What about the first and the third one?
The first one, I just was so unaware. I always say my first birth happened to me. Like I was just like a bystander in what happened. I wasn't in control at all. And then my third birth was really positive. It was just a little bit harder work because he was a little bit bigger. But yeah, but my middle birth was after coming on the back of a not great birth, then having my second, that was like a completely different experience. And so, yeah.
Okay, so what would you say is the secret of having a positive experience, and what are the, is failure the wrong word, but more like mistakes? Well, yeah,
Yeah.
whatever it is that causes a negative experience.
I think knowing what's coming is really helpful, which isn't super helpful for a first time mom because you can never really know. But I was just so much more in control my second time of the environment, and I'm more in control of the space, and I felt confident enough to say things like I don't want any internal investigations to the midwife, and really sticking to that. And even when they put pressure on me, I didn't then internalize that pressure and think, oh, I've got to do what they say. I was very calm, and I was just at a point where I could say, actually, I've read what I need to read. I've got all the information that I've got, and no, I don't want that to happen. And it was just being able to protect my space and really get in a space with the baby. I feel like me and her worked together for her birth. Mm-hmm. It was us two, just on our own. And I spoke to her the whole time. And yeah, that was very, very different to my first. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I've heard that a lot. It's all about the calmness.
Yeah.
And like I had as well that the moment the midwife's asking me like, hey, you should do this, you should do that. And I didn't felt that, I didn't wanted it, but I felt so insecure that I started to get stressed. And that causes the fact that it took longer, for example.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. And I didn't realise how, I guess, radical I could be. So even though my first birth was a home birth, and I'd felt confident to say things like, once I've been examined, I don't want to know how many centimetres I am, and all those things. I felt like I was still trying to do as I was told a lot. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, I let them do those exams, but then I felt like I wasn't controlling the space. That wasn't my space. And yeah, I just felt like it was all happening to me. I didn't feel like I wasn't connected to the baby in the same way. I guess because I couldn't really visualise that it was going to be a baby at the end of it, you know. I didn't, yeah. Whereas, because they're so close, so they're 2 years and 2 months apart, like I'd had a baby, so I knew that there was definitely something going to come out at the end. Yeah. And so, yeah, I felt like I could really, I think it is just that, just being confident in your decisions and having enough education and enough, I guess, confidence to go in there and and know that what you've decided is what you've decided, and really choosing that and being okay that that might not be what they're okay with. Yeah, and that was the same with my third. I was just shut in a room on my own. They hardly even came in because I didn't want them in there.
It's amazing. Yeah, I had a similar experience. I mean, I just had one labor so far, but I didn't want to see a doctor, mainly because I listened to a lot of podcasts and I educate myself that if you see a doctor, then there will be bright light, then there will be a lot of discussions around you. You barely have the possibility to relax. So I was like, no doctor, no way. But I was so far. I was in a birth center, and the birth center was in a hospital. And the midwives were like, okay, it takes too long. We should get at the doctor. And I was like, no doctor. And they started to argue with me. Wow, that took me so much energy, and it stressed me so out and took me out of my zone.
Yeah.
But luckily, and this is one, big advice I can give everyone, having a partner, in my case Adam, who knew what I want and don't want.
Yeah.
And he stepped in and he was like, hey, no arguments anymore. Stop talking to my partner.
Yeah.
No doctor.
That's so good.
Yeah.
But it's that communication, and I think as well you have to be quite savvy. Is he awake?
My son is awake.
Oh no.
No.
You can come hang out with us.
Yeah, we will join. Do you want to keep talking and I get
Okay.
Bodhi? So the main questions I actually have is, what are the advices you could give to other moms? What can they do to have like a positive experience?
I think education is a big one. So learning all sides of the coin. Sometimes it's easy to get into an echo chamber of the vibe that you're into, and then you miss out on all this other stuff. So researching not just the hospital birth, the worst case scenario, but also really listening about the positive stories and just knowing stuff. Like, things that really helped me was I knew that once I got to 8 centimetres dilated, that you have another show. And no one tells you that, no midwife tells you that, no doctor tells you that at 8 centimetres you have another bloody show. And so really, if you're looking out for those things and you know that stuff, then you're probably fine to keep going. And yeah, I think education is massive from all sides. And then having the confidence in your choices as well. And I think that only comes with education. Like, if you know the worst case scenario and the best case scenario, and then usually we probably land somewhere in the middle, then you can be really confident in that and happy that you're gonna, be able to stick to it. And then I think the last thing is being quite savvy in how you speak to medical professionals. I think if you come in and you're like, I'm going to have an orgasmic birth, and then we're all going to, eat the placenta, and we're going to, and no, I don't want anyone, you can only speak to me in whale noises. Like, they don't like that. You're telling them, we don't respect your profession, and we're against what you're doing. And so I think there's a way that you can, be nice and but also firm. I think that's really important, because they're not the people whose backs you want to get up, especially if you're there trying to fight for what you want. There's a savviness that goes with that, but I think you learn that.
Okay, I take that advice for next time.
Yeah, it's hard. It is hard. It's like my third birth. I said to the midwife, if anything happens and we have to go to hospital, I just want a cesarean. I'm not contemplating anything else. So as we are on our way, you might as well tell them to prep, because that's the only way I want out of this. And she was pretty much against it for a long time, but I kept coming back with the education that I had, and telling her about different stats, different things, like what will happen, you know, once you get transferred, blah, blah, blah. And in the end, because I had a good relationship with her, she agreed. And she said, actually, I understand exactly where you're coming from. And I guess that sounded really radical to her. Like, why would you just go from this really natural, really, I don't know, hippy-dippy birth to being like, I just want it the most medicalised I can get. But I have my reasons. And yeah, so that was good.
Cool. Thank you so much. If you have any question to Emma, just comment here under, and then I will have another conversation.
Yes.